things, and it's a parable, and it's not. And I guess that my problem is that these are not great storybooks; they are great parables. And I don't really like everything is too extreme, like the idea of Big Brother and the idea of the enemy of Big Brother. Both of them are these extremes of this thing. Like I'm just like he was just one of the things I just read was that he had to do his morning the exercises they have to do every day. Like they don't have glass houses. They don't live in glass houses. They have tele screens that they communicate with the state through. And like it's just like this idea that they're gonna be in our home and they're gonna tell us to do exercise in the morning, wake up at like yeah, I don't. I mean, I get it. It's interesting parable, but you could make that interesting parable in 3 pages. You don't have to write it like that. I mean, 98 is pretty short. But yeah, I think.
I wonder if Sam Danes actually read the damn book. That happened in the very beginning. You read it in the first 3 pages. But the whole point is that there was an invasion of privacy. I do like that he's talking about 1984, though. I like several books. There's, dystopian books. Animal Farm, Lord of the Flies, Matrix, and is a movie I like that. Battle Royale, Hunger Games, V for Vendetta, Fahrenheit 451, and yeah, Zamyatin's We. So Zamyatin's We, I think, is the best out of all of them. 1984 Animal Farm. That's almost, you have to read those things. How can you understand the world if you don't read 84 and Animal Farm? Lord of the Flies. I think Lord of the Flies is one of the funnest one, which there's a lot of elements to it. You need a boogeyman, and then there's, Lord of the Flies is pretty brilliant. I think. Lord of the Flies is pretty brilliant. So those are just some other dystopians right there. The Lord of the Flies, Zamyatin's We, Fahrenheit 451, 1984. Matrix, Battle Royale, Hunger Games, V for Vendetta, Animal Farm, Lord of the Flies, 1984, Zamyatin's We. He mentioned Zamyatin's We, which I was excited about. So Sam did read Zamyatin's We. Zamyatin's We is about this guy named D503. He doesn't have a name, he's just D503. What's up, D503? A 32-year-old philosopher mathematician who responds to a call for literary works to send to distant planets about Integral, the spacecraft he has designed and whose construction he oversees. D503 and R13 are licensed to O90 for separate sexual liaisons on specified days, but their triangle is broken when D503 meets I-330. So I-330 and Julia are like my ideal. These women are incredible. I mean, they're gorgeous, but they're revolutionary. And it's almost, I like it and I don't like it. So it's kind of a criticism too, because as a literary device, you're reading it, this gorgeous woman, right? You got this, middle class male bureaucrat who's, stuck in a dead end machine. He's part of the machine, right? And he comes across a woman who says, "Hey, come to me, come follow me, and we're gonna, have a revolution." And what if, you don't have a beautiful woman that's, wanting you to change the world for a better place? Is not, revolutionary. So it's good and it's bad. I could see as a literary device, why a writer would want to use it, but I feel like if you're waiting for, Miss I-330 to take you by the hand and tell you how the revolution is going to go, it's not going to happen. Freedom is slavery, war is peace, ignorance is strength. These are slogans from 1984.
Pieces out of it, which are kind of what interests me, than just like a fiction book. I mean, you know, I really like the ideas that it's talking about, and it's fine for me if you take it, further than it really is in reality. And and you can find in different contexts similarities and all this. But yeah, is it even like is it that unique that this book makes this point or something? You see no, this. No, no. No, no. Yeah, you see this kind of thing in a lot of movies and different kind of shows and books for a long time. But yeah, this is not a good one, I guess. I guess the time he was making it, it wasn't as pervasive. Like we are living
But
in a
it's
world
not
where
that
1980.
old, no?
It's from 60s, right? Or 80s.
No, it was 1949. 1949. It was, 1984, 48, and then eventually published in 49. So 84 inverted to. And then Ronald Reagan, swept into power in 1984, which is fucking ironic as shit, is it not? 1984. So you have, Sam and Cam talking about 1984, which is fantastic. Freedom is slavery, war is peace, ignorance is strength. The biggest thing I take away from Orwell, and Sam has a good point that the story, it was hard for me to read it. I remember that it was assigned to me in school by this, curmudgeon fucking literature. How come all these, like Huck Finn, whatever, these curmudgeon, like the women in Huck Finn, these curmudgeon assholes are all about literature, and I'm supposed to what feel? I didn't understand it the way you understood it, so therefore, get the fuck out of here. So that's one point for Sam. A curmudgeon made me, read 1984. But it's fucking mind blowing. It's goddamn revolutionary. 1984 shows you how language can be abused. 1984 shows you how language can be. Freedom is slavery. What the fuck? I mean, you can't get more goddamn, polar opposites than that. Well, you know what? If you're just a slave, then you'll be free. A good way to get some peace? Go to war. A good way to be strong? Be ignorant. So Sam is not enjoying the book. He says it's too black and white. I can understand actually like all his criticisms. He's talking about how society really doesn't progress, but art does. And so when it comes to 1984, he's like, God, we've seen so many other dystopians. This as a dystopian novel by itself isn't good enough. And it isn't. It's not a great story. It's hard to get into. It's 1948, and they're talking about the telescreens, which is totally, with the internet and the, desktops and laptops and the smartphones and shit. The telescreens, I mean, how very prescient. That motherfucker predicted that shit in 1949. So the fact that 84 still holds up, but he did steal his shit from Zamyatin's Wii. He totally stole his shit from Zamyatin's Wii. And they have an ideal woman. They both have ideal women, right? Gorgeous revolutionary women who entices the bureaucrat to come to the side of revolution. Okay, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. That's you see a gorgeous, revolutionary trying to entice you to revolute. You probably should run the other way. This seems, no. No, society does not progress, but art gets better. So Sam was making the point that we've seen a lot of dystopians. He was talking about RoboCop at another time. We do Minority Report. We have seen a lot of dystopian, so a lot of better artwork when it comes to dystopian nightmares. So 1984 is just a story, as just a dystopian story. It could do better. It could do better. Now, that being said, the ideas behind 1984 are the important part. To be Orwellian means that you're spitting out fucking hypocrisy. You're spitting out double speak, double think. Language can be used to make you think the exact opposite of what's actually going on. So you go to the Ministry of Love. You know what they do? The ministry, which is departments. You know what they do at the Ministry of Love? They're torturing people. That's where the prison is. So the Ministry of Love is a torture prison. The Ministry of Plenty is actually doing rations or cutting back on food. The Ministry of Plenty, they're not passing food out to everybody. The Ministry of Peace, they're the ones that are actually running the goddamn war. The Ministry of Peace, I mean, my God, we couldn't have like a Ministry of Peace. Wait, we got a Department of Defense. It used to be called the Department of War. And after they changed it to Department of Defense, that means no matter, even if they have an aggressive war, it's still done in the name of defense. So that's, in terms of language, that's fucking brilliant. Well, the Department of Defense says we need to launch an aggressive war, what do they call that? A premeditated. So, yeah, the importance of 1984 are the concepts, because George Orwell told us about doublethink, and he told us about, double speak, and he told us about unpersons. He told us about the 2-minute hate. Unpersons. Hey, Tony was just here yesterday. Well, he's not here today. And you know what? He's never existed in all of time. He's been unpersoned. The memory hole. Just drop that down in your memory hole. Are you sure you actually talked to him and saw him? Maybe you didn't. Maybe it was a hologram. Maybe you're mistaken. Maybe you're talking to somebody else that looks just like him. So that's, a way to just delete, 21,000 Ukrainians have been killed in 1 month. In 1 month's time, at least 21,000 Ukrainians have been killed. 81 Saudi Arabians got killed in one day. 81 Saudi Arabians. Or maybe they never existed. So that's double think. It's double speak. What double think and double speak is when not just, using language to make you think the opposite. Double think is when you hold two contradictory thoughts in your head and you believe them both to be true. Well, the war is good and, the peace is good. Well, cops are good and the cops are bad. So you just have all these contradictions and, some things have nuance and some things are, balanced. But if you have cognitive dissonance, like, Tony was a real person, Tony Gripshover was a real person, and now he's not here today, and now we're going to pretend that he wasn't here. Tony Gripshover was a real person. You remembered him. He was there. You're going to unperson him is what you're doing, and you're going to make everybody double think. Double think. What happened? Are you sure? Freedom is slavery. War is peace. Ignorance is strength. Tony was not a person. He's been unpersoned. You are mistaken. You thought he was, but where was he? Where is he now? And then using the words, to do the opposite. There's other examples I thought of, not just Department of Defense, which is our War Department in the United States, but also the Blue and Clear Skies Act, the Patriot Act, which is, curtails our civil liberties, the Blue and Clear Skies Act, which Clear Skies Act, which actually lowered emission standards, so it allowed greater pollutions, more pollution to go out in the world. So we had 21,000 Ukrainian people here a month ago. Where did they all go? Where did they all go? But if you can actually believe that people can both exist and to have never existed, they lived and died, but they were never here to begin with. You can hold two contradictory ideas in your head. That's extraordinarily dangerous. How do you not have cognitive dissonance? You have two contradictory ideas in your head. You need to work that out. You have a lapse in logic. You have a lapse in circuits. Oh, well, it's good when what? It's good when I make money for myself, but it's also good when I just give money to other people. I don't know. But you have two contradictory thoughts in your head. They both cannot be true. You have to work that out. They're contradictory. And then thought crime, criminalizing a person's thoughts. You had Abby Hoffman and, well, you say my thoughts are a crime? And then Minority Report, right? He was going to commit a crime. And how did we know that? Know that because, he was thinking of it. He was thinking about doing it. And then that, those three weird cogs or whatever. 1984 is fantastic. I remember I was reading 1984 with, an old fling. I was dating a woman when I was reading 1984. We were both reading it, and there was one line she had liked. She was talking about how she's only a revolutionary from the waist down, and she had changed it, though. She said that she was a revolutionary from the neck down. So I thought that was pretty clever. O'Brien talks to Winston. Julia goes to O'Brien, declares a love. So he knows the end. He knows the beginning. I don't know if he read the bulk of it, and I don't know if there's anything. There's a movie. Sam could just go watch the movie, I think. But really, it's the language, right? It's double think, double speak. It's thought crime. It's unperson. And the 2-minute hate is just every morning they wake up and they're just spouting off a bunch of, just cursing like crazy people at the TV screen because the government told them to. That's the enemy. Everybody wakes up and you just start yelling, a bunch of obscenities at the TV screen because that's the enemy of the opposing troops or what have you. At the very end, he talks about the ending, so spoiler alert. But Winston Smith is going to get tortured into not loving Julia. So Winston Smith is the bureaucrat. Julia gets him to come to the revolution, but they didn't plan it out. And then they get fucked over the whole, totalitarian Big Brother. That's another thing. The government calls themselves Big Brother because Big Brother is watching you because he's watching your back and, it's family. So it makes you think of, but it's Big Brother. So it's like the government is just using language again, saying that they're your brother, but really they're just, in your fucking business, making sure that you're not, writing any crazy thoughts in your journal. The very first thing Winston Smith does when he gets a journal is down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother. He just starts writing it over and over again. That motherfucker's repressed a little bit. Repressed much? Down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down. That's all you can. Well, I'm not supposed to say it, so that's why it's just. So, yeah, Sam was talking about how at the very end he was being tortured, but then Cam had jumped in and said, so it's pro-torture. And it's not pro-torture. What it's saying is that if you torture a person enough, you could torture that person to not love their dream. And you could basically torture a person to where they can break that loving spirit that you have for another person. They can break it. And I think that's important. It's not pro-torture, but it's saying that maybe torture could be, I guess useful if you're trying to break the spirit of your own people and make sure they don't have good, loving relationships with one another because you view good, loving relationships as somehow a threat to the political party or to the, one state or what have you. But yeah, you're going to have O'Brien. It turns out, they declare their love for one another, but guess what? The guy that, allowed them to stay at he was working for the thought police the whole fucking time. The whole rebellion looks like it was a front. O'Brien, they pretended it was a front, and then Julia got caught up in it. She got Winston Smith caught up in it. They're going to torture Winston Smith. Winston is actually named after Winston Churchill and Mr. Smith. So the extraordinary and the ordinary. Winston Smith, Mr. Extraordinary. Smith, very ordinary name. So Winston meets Julia after they get tortured, but they're going to torture him with rats. They were putting rats closer and closer to his face. And essentially he knew what he had to say. And he had to say, don't hurt me, hurt Julia. And it turns out if you put the torture on a person, you can sever, that loving bond that they have. And that's, I believe that's true and sad. And basically it's a, 1984 it's got a sad ending. It's like that, not Clockwork Orange, but Darren Aronofsky movie, not Pie, but the other good. He only had two good movies, Pie and the other one. But yeah, it was a terrible ending. Whatever movie I'm thinking of. Great soundtrack. Dun 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 dun. But yeah, I like some of their just kind of talking back and forth. He was saying that there was another book that he had liked, the Gulag Archipelago. He didn't say he liked that book, but he was saying he liked the Three Body Problem, which says that they're critical of the communist authoritarian society of China. So the Three Body Problem, which is a novel, he's just saying that the story is better. And I can actually understand that. He also said the Game of Thrones is way better than Lord of the Rings, J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, which I read The Hobbit. I saw, one of the movies, but I never saw Game of Thrones, never. So I don't understand the reference, but I guess he's just saying that Game of Thrones is better than Lord of the Rings. Game of Thrones come, out afterwards. It's not about hobbits and doesn't have all that. Well, it kind of, well, anyways. I like The West Wing. They like The Sopranos a lot, but Cam said he didn't like the theme song to The Sopranos, which, where'd that come from? I love the theme song to The Sopranos. One day you just need to be like a Ukrainian, right? You just need to stand up and go get yourself a gun. Got myself a gun. Got myself a gun. And it's not about the music. It's like he would never have listened to that music. It's not about what music he listens to. It's about the point of that. It's an introduction, so you only got what, fucking 10 seconds, 15 seconds to make a goddamn impact. I really didn't like that introductory song that you had. We woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. Your mama always told you you'd be the chosen one. One in a million, you got that, what, shotgun shining smile? Something's got it in your eyes. Woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. The Gulag Archipelago is Jordan Peterson's recommendation. Gulag Archipelago, you want to, read it. This motherfucker got tortured in communist Russia and just basically memorized all of it, and then just, for about 5 years, just spilled his fucking guts out, called the Gulag Archipelago. So, oh yeah, communism is so fucking wonderful and great and awesome. How come this Gulag Archipelago even exists? So Cam was saying, they're saying torture works. It kind of does say torture works, but torture is just abhorrent. It's just an abhorrent tactic, and it also could get the exact opposite too. If you're trying to get the truth out of Winston Smith, you might not be able to get the truth. But if you're trying to get Winston Smith to not love his beloved, I mean, that if you're trying to torture people so they don't love the people that they do love, well, then you got to ask him that question. You got to say, hey, I'm going to torture you until you denounce your entire family. And that's what Winston Smith does. He says, put it on Julia. Don't torture me. Torture her. And even though, he was just saying it in the moment to, not get injured at the time, by him declaring it, he meant it. He meant it from the bottom of his heart. And so that, that love connection that they had was severely diminished. They're going to meet later on, and he's brainwashed, or he's just beaten down or something. So the same thing was done to her too, but basically it destroyed the relationship. And I think that is important, because you turn the screws on, you separate people and put the screws on people, you can get people to turn on one another. And I don't know if that's like, look how smart I am. I divided and conquered them. You should know that shit to, protect yourself from that kind of shit. But, yeah, so that's kind of all knowledge. Knowledge is, defensive. Knowledge is power, but it's defensive as well. So the 3-Body Problem, it looks like a great book. Thanks for the recommendation, Sam. I'll check it out. I would like to recommend, out of all the dystopian novels, The Lord of the Flies. I think he would enjoy The Lord of the Flies. And if not reading the book, just watch the movie. Watch the movie. And, I hope they keep on, churning some great content. I love hearing an outsider's perspective about America. I need an outsider's perspective about America. Just because they don't give a shit. Like, they care enough, they want us to pay attention, but because they're outsiders, they are, basically detached enough to where they can have any goddamn opinion about us. And I would essentially, as long as there's a rationale behind it, as long as there's reasons behind, the conclusion, I'm, game for hearing any of their positions on, essentially any of the things that we're doing. What do they think about Mississippi? What are the best state out of, from their outsider perspective, what would they say are the best American states, and what are the worst American states? And, I hope they keep on doing their thing. I like it's also just methodical. It's got timestamps. That Cam seems to be on it. They seem to work. They have a pre-planned phase, and they talk about all the different things they're using technology well. Yeah, Spar and Brawl, check them out. And Spar and Brawl, check out Lord of the Flies. I want to talk about Lord of the Flies. I got to tie it into something. You need a boogeyman. The Lord of the Flies. And the Lord of the Flies, I'll just set it up and then end it off on that. It's about, you have a bunch of British boys who lands on a deserted island. And at first they're all civilized, and they're saying, hey, we need to find a rescue ship, and they're, they need to get water and food and supplies. But then slowly but surely, they started, being cruel to one another, and they started the civilization. You start to see a rift, a schism, a breakdown in civilization. So that's the setup.